told me that Biden was juicing the numbers of his immigration reform. He said Biden was juicing the numbers. Y'all know anything about that? Well, before we get into Biden juicing the numbers, sanctuary cities are allegedly harboring illegal gangs and cartel members, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
The feds are opening up a criminal investigation into New York City's migrant hotels. We got a lot, even demanding staff turn in names of illegals that they were housing. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin joins us now with more. Tricia, how many hotels are you looking at?
We're keeping everything on the table, Brian. And keep in mind, this Roosevelt Hotel that's so notorious, it is a base of operations for Tren de Aragua, which is a vicious gang. It's also housed Laken Riley's killer. But I'm so glad President Trump put a team together with Secretary...
Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that the infamous Roosevelt Hotel that was then getting paid from the government during the Biden administration and Eric Adams administration inside of New York City was actually a place that housed Laken Riley's killer? How come the Democrats won't say Laken Riley's name? How come Democrats won't take Laken Riley's name? How come the Democrats won't say that?
Secretary Noem, Attorney General Bondi, that's going to go after these criminal aliens. It is unacceptable that we have these sanctuary city policies. I know Secretary Noem was just in New York City last week. She called on the governor to end these sanctuary city policies. She called on the city council to end them. They are really harboring these gangs, these cartel members, these murders and these rapists in New York City. It's making the city much less safe and Americans less safe.
Absolutely. So what they do, too, some of the gang members get there, and they'll take the other teenagers who are also there, and they'll convert them. Say, listen, you're not doing anything. You can't work. We're still waiting to go to school. So they become TDA right here in New York City in America. And you talk about this, 75% of the Midtown Manhattan arrests are illegal immigrants. That, according to the NYPD, not you. And what I think really has gotten under my skin when I heard about it, and must really drive you guys crazy, is what about the guy that lit the woman on fire? Sebastian Zapata, I think his name is. He will not be, New York will not turn him over to ICE?
They will not.
These are some evil Democrats. Evil. Now, how come nobody is calling their Congress members over there in Dallas? How come nobody is calling their Congress members with AOC's district? Ain't she like in Brooklyn, Queens or something like that? How come nobody is calling their Congress members and saying, hey, how come you won't say these people's names? How come y'all won't push? They're more concerned with their agenda than they are with your safety, even in their own districts. They are more concerned with their agenda than they are with your safety. This should not be a bipartisan issue. The Democrats of the 90s would have never, the Democrats of the 2000s would have never, ever. When Obama was in office, he would have never. When Biden was Obama's vice president, he would have never, ever. They would never go for this nonsense. How can you justify not turning over killers, and we're using taxpayer dollars to house them, to clothe them, to feed them, to give them health care coverage? How can you justify it? AOC is in the Bronx? I figured she was in the Bronx. Democrats of the 90s would have never went for this. They would have been like, man, get these people up out of here. They didn't believe in criminals that was from other nations. Now, they may have advocated against the death penalty or something like that or whatever, right? They may have said, hey, we want prison reform for American citizens or something, and we could have had that conversation going back and forth, but they would have never defended people that wasn't even American citizens. But the narrative is a part of all of the benefits that came along with financially getting money from cartel members and the trafficking of humans over here in the form of immigration reform and all of this stuff, is that Democrats was hoping in a lot of these places that these people are able to vote and keep them in office because they need new constituents and they need new people to feed the Democratic plantation lie too. They would have never went for this.
respect the lodging that ICE, so they will not return him over to ICE because of their sanctuary city policies. Secretary Noem just went to Coney Island subway stop, which was the site of that horrific, depraved act by that illegal alien. And we need that woman to see justice. We need New York City to see justice. We must end these sanctuary city policies and get these ICE officials the tools and resources they need to be able to do their jobs. They haven't been able to do it for 4 years.
So a couple of things are pretty clear. It looks like the catch and release program under President Biden, he would list it only as catch, not tell us they were released. This, according to Todd Lyons, acting ICE director, we have uncovered that the previous administration was cooking the books on ICE. They were purposely misleading the American people by categorizing individuals and processed and released into the interior of the United States as arrested. They go on. How disingenuous is that?
Well, the American people deserve to know the fact that not only was the Biden administration funding mass illegal immigration into this country, but then they were also lying about it. Under Biden, the Department of Homeland Security directed ICE that when they process hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, they should not detain them, but they should release them into the interior of our country and count it as an arrest to deceive the American people. It's been stunning to see what media outlets will not cover this. It should be uncovered.
And they choose not to. You will never see this ran on MSNBC. You will never see this ran on CNN. You will never see this ran on any of these liberal networks because they want to be sure. They want to be absolutely sure. And I'm going to work. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to work really hard at something. And I'll tell y'all what that is in a second.
So the ICE director, the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, yesterday broke news by saying, if you look at the numbers of the illegals that were arrested last year, fiscal year 2024, under Joe Biden, that they were counting those numbers as arrests, but then letting them back out into our country.
Got
the
the
majority
catch.
of them. Exactly. We caught you. We arrested you. They call it a pass-through arrest. The majority of the overall arrests made in fiscal year 2024, 113,431 arrests, were all pass-through arrests. And under Trump, out of all the ones that he has arrested this year so far, are not pass-through arrests. They're arresting them, and then they're locking them up, and they're working on deporting them. So, and Trump's actually on pace so far this year to have more arrests than Joe Biden did last year.
Yeah, we could surpass it. Here's the thing. You know, the Biden administration said, we're arresting a lot of people. They weren't arresting anybody. These were people who were just coming in the normal process. Okay, I'm surrendering. Okay, fine. You're going to go right into the interior of the United States. So it's just, they were cooking.
So they wasn't actually arresting anybody. So when y'all see, because the misconception is that the Biden administration started really getting people up out of here and it was really catching a lot of migrants. They wasn't. They was juicing the books, according to the Department of Homeland Security. And now that they're going through and auditing exactly what happened, and they trying to figure out, okay, well, if y'all was arresting all of these people, then how come so many people were still crossing over and going to Chicago and New York, and we were spending billions of dollars every single year to make sure that they're housed, clothed, fed. We giving them food card, food stamps. We buying new shelters. We're funneling money through staffing companies. We allegedly making sure that this building in particular is the one that we have to use as a migrant shelter, and we funneling money through that. How come it was such a huge number of illegal migrants, millions coming over here every single year during a pandemic at some points? Because from 2021, and that is the part that really blows my mind. Yo, when we was locked down, they told us we couldn't even go to New York unless we had a vaccine. They told us we could not go to New York unless we had a vaccine. There were places in this country that you couldn't even go. You couldn't go to work. And they had people coming over into the borders without any kind of problems, and all you had to do was put a mask on. All you had to do was put a mask. Man, I'm telling you, I've been covering this since 2021. Since 2021, I was like, yo, what is happening out here in these streets? And they was juicing the numbers, and so now we're discovering it, and this is why Biden probably was pardoning Dr. Fauci and all of these people back to all of this time. They backdated. They was never even charged with anything, but he made sure that he pardoned them. And then we was trying to figure out, and we kind of knew, but we don't know, right? And we not gonna really find out until it's all said and done. We haven't seen Biden. We don't know where he is. He went to a bookstore. He went to a restaurant. We don't know if he alive. We don't know nothing about Biden right now, right? He have completely disappeared. We don't know where Hunter is. We don't know nothing. Nothing. Not a thing. Not a single thing. He was pre-pardoning people that wasn't even being investigated before he left office. He was making sure that people was pardoned all the way to a specific date before he left office. We never seen it happen in our lifetime. Never seen it happen in our lifetime. And it was juicing the numbers. Messing and cooking up the books, and then y'all sit there and jump on a panel with me and say, actually, Biden was deported. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. It was catching them and releasing them right into the United States of America and throwing other Democrats like Eric Adams under the bus.
That's what Todd Lyons said. Here's his quote. He said, "We have uncovered that the previous administration was cooking the books on ICE data. They were purposely misleading the American people by categorizing individuals processed and released into the United States. We've been talking about that for years, as arrests. They weren't arrests. We found tens of thousands of cases that were recorded as arrests when, in fact, these instances were illegal aliens that were simply processed and released into the American
all with
communities.
your tax dollars.
These were numbers that ICE came up to try to make Joe Biden look good. And now that it's been revealed, it makes Joe Biden look bad."
So what are the real numbers? We don't even know the real numbers.
We don't know.
We'll never know the
Yeah.
numbers.
And then letting
Well,
them go.
subtract those.
Well, I mean, between the auto pen and between these numbers, we're going to find out a lot that wasn't really done under Joe Biden. And just think about if you did pass what Senator Langford put forward for I guess you would say immigration
We'll never
reform
know
to a
the
degree
numbers.
before the election. The main thing was no one thought that Joe Biden would enforce anything that was passed, let alone the bill as it looked. It turns out, as the president said, we just needed a new president. The numbers are stunning so far what Tom Homan has done. And then yesterday, when he went up to Albany to meet with the Republican delegation to let them know, I'm looking to do some massive ICE arrests in New York, and we're going to have to probably bypass the governor. What you're seeing now is some of the different arrests, like earlier this week in Houston, 560 plus felons were picked up here illegally who have committed a crime and previously have been allowed to stay. The one area, there's many areas where the president's had success, but the one where it's just undeniable is here. So
Shout out to Trump. And listen, before this is all over, Trump will be listed as the greatest president of all time, at the very least, because of the level of transparency that he's operating with and what he's exposing, which is clear. It's very clear for me exactly why they wanted this guy arrested. Man, look, they tried everything. And when I say everything, they threw the kitchen sink. They went to New York and they got Letitia James. They went down to Texas and they tried to file some charges and say Trump was keeping classified information in his garage. They went to Fulton County, Georgia, and they went and got Fani Willis and her man boy to try to get Trump and try to arrest him and throw 96 charges on him. And they tried everything that they can. They tried to remove him from the ballots. They tried to get the Secretary of State in all of these blue states to remove him from the ballot, from us to even be able to vote for him. They did everything in their power to try to prevent him from getting into office. And I see why. I see exactly why they tried to prevent him from getting in office. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats. I can't wait to after hours tonight. I have a feeling this is going to be one of the most incredible after hours of all time. And let me say this. I am a conservative through and through, to my heart and my core. I am a conservative. I am certainly a Republican. What I am going to try to do for all of you liberals and you Democrats and you people that say that I am not on code, that I'm not doing whatever it is that I'm supposed to do to make sure that I hold Trump accountable, or I'm not looking at it from the liberal side, I'm going to take more of that approach. I am going to be straight down the middle and I'm going to try to remove my bias. I can't promise you that I'm going to completely remove my bias because I believe that he's doing a phenomenal job. But for you guys, for the foreseeable future, I am going to call it straight down the middle. I'm going to be objective, and I'm going to tell you where the Democrats say something good. I'm going to tell you when they say something bad. I'm going to tell you when I disagree and I think that the Republicans are doing something good and when they're doing something bad. I am going to look at it from every angle. I'm going to try to get it from the Democrat side and MSNBC and CNN, and then I'm going to get it from the Fox News side. I am going to, in everything that I do, and I can't tell you that I'm going to be able to remove what I believe in my thoughts. And so if it just goes that way, it goes that way. But I am going to truly try to be as objective as possible and tell you what my honest to God thoughts are about what is going on in society. And for the people in the back that may think that there's an agenda here, I have never, under any circumstances, not one time, I can tell you with absolute certainty, I am not Roland Martin, I am not Al Sharpton, I'm not any of those type of people. I have never gotten one check, not one check from anybody Republican related, from the super PAC, from a party, from anything. Everything that I've ever said. And so regardless of whether you agree with me or not, you cannot say that I'm not real. You can't say that I'm not authentic. I've never gotten a check from the Republican Party. I've never been incentivized. I've never gotten a flight. I've never gotten anything. So if there's anybody that's going to tell you honestly what they really believe, and I still think that the Democrats is a Democrat plantation, it is going to be me. All right? That's my pledge to you going forward. I am going to be biased because I'm biased. I am going to be biased. I'm biased in that I believe what I believe and it more closely aligns with conservatives. But I'm not going to not call it down the middle and say, hey, Jasmine Crockett did something good if she says something good. It just so happens to be the majority of what she's saying right now. I think that she's bad. But we're going to see how it go. We're going to see how it go. All right? Okay?